Hello, Ethan Malay here with a top 10 other games to start your game collection with. A lot of people have done some top 10 lists of games you think are good for starting a collection with, and I thought I'd do my own, but I try to pick some games that you don't normally see. 'Cause, you get a lot of the same things. You get Catan, Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, things like that. So I thought I've picked 10 games from my own collection that I would suggest to somebody if they were starting their game collection for a wide range of people, family and gamers. Nothing here is going to be too heavy. Nothing here should be too light. It should be a good mix that sort of is good for a family get-together kind of collection. Now, I will be numbering them 10 to 1, but that number doesn't really mean much. It's not like this is the number one best thing to get, or 10 is anything less. They're really just in order, sort of my own preference, though even that, I didn't put too much time or effort into ordering them. So without further ado, why don't we just get started? Number 10, Bonanza. Bonanza is a card game for 2 to 7 players of buying and trading beans to grow beans in your bean field and then harvest them to score points. It's a fun little card game. You have to keep your hand in the same order. Everybody will always tell you that when they explain the rules, and that's where the difficulty in the game comes with. You have to play cards as they come to the front of your hand, so each round you're going to be negotiating with the people. Each time it's your turn, I should say. You're going to be negotiating with the other people at the table, trying to trade beans to get bad beans out of your hand, but get the best deal possible for you. So when people suggest things like Settlers of Catan as a good intro board game or a good game to start a game collection with, I think Bonanza's right up that alley, but it gives you a lot more interaction than Catan does, and it can be played almost anywhere. I mean, you can sit and play this on a bus. You might get some looks, but very portable, very fun, very cheap. Bonanza. Number 9. You might hear some people tell you Ticket to Ride is a good game to start with, and it certainly is, but this is, again, a list of other games. Here I have Airlines Europe by Alan Moon, same guy who did Ticket to Ride. In Airlines Europe, you and the other players are establishing airline routes throughout Europe, hence Airlines Europe, but you're collecting stock certificates of the different airlines. You don't own any of the airlines, unlike in Ticket to Ride where you are a certain one of the train colors. In Airlines Europe, you are trying to get the most value for what you have, so you play stock certificates that give you ownership of these different airlines, and as they do better, whoever has the most stocks in them gets more points. So you want to grow an airline, but you don't want to be the only one growing it, or it's not going to progress much. You want to have just enough that other people are helping you grow it, increasing your shareholder value. Here I am saying shareholder value. It's really not. It's not a stock game. I mean, this is a family weight game. You can play it with your kids. It's a good, fun game, but it's a little more thinky than something like Ticket to Ride. But again, I'd say the same difficulty level though. So that is Airlines Europe. That was 10-9. Number 8, Camel Cup. I call it Camel Cup. Some people call it Camel Up, but I mean, what's Camel Up? So, Camel Cup. You have camels racing through the desert, and you and the other players are going to be betting on who you think is going to win, both individual legs of the race and then the race overall. And you do that by shaking this amazing little, let's see if I can get it out without dropping everything. You have this pyramid with dice in it, and you poop out a die, and that camel will move that number of spaces. And the camels are cute, adorable camel meeples. It's a fun game. It's very light. It's very light. There's, of course, a lot of randomness to it with you rolling the dice, but it's more about the betting than the racing. You can go in early and bet on a camel right off the bat, and if you're right, you're going to get a lot of points. If you're wrong, you're not. But so it becomes sort of a game of chicken. When do people place those bets on the winning camel? How far do you let it go before you start trying to grab some betting tiles? It's a fun family weight game, and it plays 2 to 8. I think it plays more than that with the expansion, which I have in here. I haven't had a chance to use the expansion yet. All right, 10-9-8. Number 7, Quadropolis. Quadropolis is a city building game. It's 1 to 4 players. Everybody has a city square in front of them, and you're going to be placing different buildings in your city square. You can only place them based on how you grab them from a central board. You have workers you use to get the tiles, and they have a number on them, and that dictates what row or column you can put them in. You want certain buildings near each other, certain buildings have to stack on top of each other, certain buildings don't want to be near other buildings, so There's a lot of planning in what's going on. There's a decent amount of player interaction with that central board when you're grabbing the tiles, but again, nothing that a family couldn't handle. Days of Wonder is known for making games like that are family weight, good quality games, and it is gorgeous. It has all clear plastic meeples and stuff. It's a very pretty, very nice game. Quadropolis. Alright, I believe that brings me to number 6. 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, number 6. Dominion. Now, I will be honest, the first time I heard of Dominion, I watched a video on YouTube. And in that video, it was a father and son talking about how you use cards to get cards, to buy more cards, to get cards, to win. And I turned it off after like 3 minutes. I thought that sounded horribly boring. I just happened to buy Dominion when I had there was some holiday sale and I had a gift card or something. And boy, do I not regret that. Yes, it might seem boring. You are using cards to buy cards, but this is what's termed a deck builder. You are buying cards into your deck to try to make a deck that can do things better than other people, that being eventually buying the game-winning cards. It's very fun, very neat. Each game you take 10 of the different types of cards and you play with those, so every game is different. There are many, many, many permutations of potential games you can play. It's a 2 to 4 player game. I play with my wife a lot, 2-player, and it's lightning fast 2-player, but still good 4. It can be mean, but you can also just not use the mean cards. But a very fun game, very good introduction to deck builders. There are other games that do deck building, and they do it in a different way that's more involved, but this is just deck building boiled down to its essence. I mean, it is what started the deck building genre, so a very good game to add to any collection. Alright, number 5. Now we go on to one of the most adorable games here, Happy Pigs. Happy Pigs, you and up to 2 to 6 players are growing pigs in their farm. And you are trying to buy the pigs, raise them up, fatten them up, breed them, and then sell them for a profit. This is actually an economic game in the guise of a little light family game, but it is light. I've played it with my whole family. I've played it with people who are not into heavy economic games, and they can play it. You know, there's not hard decisions to make. Each round, there are only 4 actions that players can do, and you all select which one of those 4 actions you want to do, and each action is allotted a certain number of uses, so you gotta split it. So there's a whole, again, game of chicken of, well, not really chicken, but double thinking. Is everybody gonna go for selling pigs this round? Because if they are, you're not gonna be able to sell a lot of pigs, so maybe I want to buy medication to keep my pigs alive. Plays very quick, plays very methodically, so players can't get lost because you move point by point by point through the game. It's very cute, it's very bright. You put this out on the table, and people are gonna be willing to at least give it a try because of the looks. And the square pigs are certainly a large part of that. But that is Happy Pigs. Alright, number 4, one of the prettiest games to put out on the table that I have, and that is Medina. Now this is Medina's 2nd edition. This is a game for 2 to 4 players where you are building or rebuilding the city of Medina with gorgeous, gorgeous wooden blocks that you're all putting out on the table. You are trying to have points scored in orange palaces and brown palaces and purple palaces and gray palaces. You're building the city wall around the city. You are putting a trail of merchants through the city. It's a big chunky wooden play box, and when you are done, it's a game that everybody wants to take pictures of because it's gorgeous. It's very simple. All you do on your turn is you take 2 of your wooden pieces, you put them down on the board, and that's your turn. That's it. So there's not a lot of rules overhead for what is a very fun, tactile game that, you know, from children on to adults, everybody loves building up a city like that. It's a very fun, very pretty, easy game, Medina. Alright, number 3 is Elfenland, another by Alan Moon, the Ticket to Ride Airlines Europe designer. In Elfin-Land, you and up to 6 players are elf princes and princesses, trying to gain the throne to Elfin-Land by traveling around to all the cities of Elfenland and visiting them, because that's the only way to become a mature elfin king or queen. I don't know, it's pretty wacky. Now, this is the original version. They did just re-release this as Elfin Roads, which has the base Elfenland and an alternate map, Elfin Sea, which has a lot more rivers and water on it. What you do every round is you are going to be grabbing tiles that you then put on the board that are different means of transportation, elfin cycles and boars and troll wagons and clouds and dragons and unicorns, and then you're going to be trying to play cards that match those tiles to be able to move yourself around Elfenland. This is a very fun game. It's a very light game. This is one of the meanest games I have and play regularly because you can mess with other people so easily by placing a tile in the wrong spot, by maliciously putting a tile where somebody needed to put their own tile. You can completely ruin somebody's game. I've had more arguments over this game than almost any game in my collection, but it is a great game. It is, again, very low rules overhead, can be played by families, can be played completely innocently. You can almost play with a friendly nature to it where you can sort of make deals with other players. You know, if you put a cloud tile there, I can put a board tile there if that benefits us both. So you can play it nice. Of course, it's usually those agreements that people then renege on, and it leads to screaming. But I love it, Elfenland. Which brings us to number 2, my wife's favorite game, and the one I play with her almost more than all other games, and that's because it is adorable, Takenoko. You might notice I actually have Takenoko Designer Edition behind me, which is a massive version. This is the regular version, Takenoko. In Takenoko, players are putting down tiles of green, yellow, and pink bamboo, and they are moving the panda, little cute panda figure throughout, eating the bamboo. You're moving a gardener throughout, growing the bamboo, and you're trying to fulfill cards in your hand that will score you points based on certain bamboo the panda's eaten, or certain patterns of bamboo that have been grown, or certain tiles that have been placed in a certain manner. Very, very light rules. A lot of opportunity for people to sort of enjoy watching things grow. It's another game. If it's on the table, people walk over and see what it is. At the end of the game, it's a beautiful, beautiful little thing. So it's wooden bamboo, plastic figures, but gorgeous game. One of the criticisms that's been levied against it is you can't really act or try to stop an opponent because you don't know what they're going after. If you play this a few times, you have a general idea of what many of the cards are. So if you are trying to stop an opponent from fulfilling one of their cards, especially the big point ones, becomes pretty obvious what they're doing. So repeated plays certainly are awarded when it comes, or rewarded when it comes to playing Takenoko, and it's just a great family style, family length, family difficulty game that's just gorgeous to look at. And that finally leads me to my number 1. Usually people will say Pandemic is a great game to start with. It's a cooperative game of trying to fight to cure diseases as they ravage the globe. And I got Pandemic years ago. Didn't do so well for my group. We actually got Pandemic Legacy recently, and we've been enjoying that. But the game that is Pandemic, but different, that my group and myself love so much more, is Defenders of the Realm. Defenders of the Realm is very similar to Pandemic. You have the same thing of 4 different colors, green, red, black, blue, 4 different colors, racing in and sort of populating these cards get played, and they're spreading, and you better try to take them out. But whereas Pandemic is very, very guaranteed, you know you're going to go and cure those disease cubes in that city. In Defenders of the Realm, you actually have to roll dice, and your heroes fighting these villains as they roll in, and each color has this big bad general that's slowly stomping in towards the center of the board which you're trying to defend. I'm normally not a fan of dice over no dice, so normally I should like Pandemic more, but the theme of this, the fact that you are heroes, you're the standard typical sort of Dungeons and Dragons or Tolkien high fantasy heroes. You have elves and halflings and rangers and knights and dwarves, and you each have your own special abilities. What you can do is something nobody else can do, and you really got to work together, especially when it comes to defeating those big bosses, because those big bosses take a lot to defeat. So you sort of want to go out into the world together, you want to be fighting back the baddies, and then you want to come together and attack one of those generals. And as you defeat them, the other generals begin moving in quicker, so the game gets harder as you get closer to winning. This has many expansions. I recently got the Dragon expansion. You can get extra menus. I think I have everything for the game at this point. You can expand out this game to have it be very difficult. You can also make it easier on you. But again, very simple to play for a family. You have a set number of action points every turn. You use them, you're done. That's it. The hardest thing for a family would be learning what the individual characters do. At this point, there's like 30-something characters, but the base game, I think, comes with 8. maybe 6. And everything's written on their cards. There's no need to look in the rule book when it comes to that. Everything's right there. I think this is one of the best family difficulty level cooperative games out there. Anybody who likes fantasy, I mean, obviously if you don't like fantasy, this isn't going to do it for you, but I think this is probably one of the best cooperative games I have for introducing people to cooperative gaming. And that is usually the best way to get people into modern board gaming, is tell them about cooperative games, because everybody loves that idea of fighting against the game instead of fighting against each other. So that's it. That's my top 10 better games to start a new game collection with. What do you think? Am I wrong? Most of you probably think I am. Am I right? Do you have your own list of 10? Put them in the comments below. If you like what you see, share this, like this, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow it. And if there's a good enough response to this, I will do more top 10 videos like this. This has been Ethan Millay, and I hope you all have a good day.